Is Indiana Jones staying fresh, or does it belong in a museum? We got a review for you.
Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And today, whatever time it is.
This present moment.
Speaking of time, we are doing a spoiler-free review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That's right, no spoilers here.
But there is alliteration.
Yes, a bountiful alliteration.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, they really didn't. That was something they did like late in life, right?
The Orb of Orthopedics.
The Orb of Orthopedics. That sounds comfy. So right off the bat, I'm gonna say, at least for me, I'm not a huge Indiana Jones fan.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
I know. So, I mean, this is one of the things I like about having a YouTube channel to talk about movies like this is not everyone is going to be an Indiana Jones fan. They may not be into adventure or archaeology movies and stuff like that. So I am a person that you type of people could possibly connect with if you're just not really interested in this kind of genre of movie. You like the Indiana Jones movies a little bit more than I do, but even still, it's not like a major...
Yeah, so, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Indiana Jones is not like my favorite franchise, but it is one that I enjoy the movies. I think they're a lot of fun. I think they're good classic films to hang out and watch, so... Yeah, I mean, I have a healthy respect for the Indiana Jones franchise.
And I know, like, given my age, this movie just came out. We just got seen this movie. I turned 42 this year, so...
Old.
So, yes, I am the right age to be interested in the Indiana Jones movies, especially coming from the 80s. But, yeah, when I was a kid, I was, like, more into, like, Back to the Future and Star Wars. So, that being said, I might have some harsh criticisms of Indiana Jones, but take it with a grain of salt if you're a person that is just a diehard Indiana Jones fan. I'm not trying to crap all over your beloved series, but just understand it's from my point of view.
He's just giving his honest opinion about how he specifically feels.
Yeah. I will say I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was fun. But I am of the mind frame of like the Indiana Jones movies as a whole, they're okay. They're good movies. I've seen most of them more than once.
Yeah.
But they're not ones that I'm like, ooh, I'm in the mood for Temple of Doom. Let me go put that on.
Yeah.
So this movie, I feel like just for me falls right in line with the previous movies. I do have like a structure of how I would organize it, what movies I think were better than others. As I said in our Out of the Theater reaction, I do think the Dial of Destiny is better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I'm not certain if I think it's any better than any of the original three.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like you're coming up against a situation where the original three are a trilogy that is in the halls of moviedom fame, essentially. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, all of these movies have stood the test of time and have proven over generations that they deserve to be, highly lauded. They are, very famous, iconic films. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a lot of people are back and forth on that one. Upon rewatch for me, I actually did enjoy it more than when I first saw it. But I know a lot of people don't have a very favorable opinion about that one as opposed to, some of the others.
Like, for example, I just watched it for the first time like a week ago or so, and it was all right, I guess.
So the question is ultimately, does the Indiana Jones franchise, can it do what some other franchises have done, which is we've got old movies, and then years later we're going to do another sequel. Granted, we did have a bridge in 2008 with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so we did that once, and now we're going to go ahead and do that again, kind of a situation going on here. But for the most part, I typically don't believe that most franchises, other than say like maybe Star Wars, can handle the idea of doing a sequel a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades later. Top Gun Maverick pulled it off. And we call those legacy sequels, and you don't usually see it that often. So the question that everyone has in mind is, does this movie still uphold with the rest of the Indiana Jones franchise?
And I think like for legacy sequels, for them to work, it just really depends on the script. I don't say that. I'm not going to make a blanket statement that legacy sequels are a bad idea, because we're seeing proof of that now. Like Top Gun Maverick, great example. That was a fantastic movie. I think it was actually better than the original Top Gun. I loved Maverick. So yeah, it's just a matter of the storyline, the script, and everything. That's what's really going to make or break these movies.
And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the answer to that question is yes. This one actually does, in my opinion, looks like in your opinion, does actually hold up and stick with the rest of the Indiana Jones franchise. And I think that's a big win for anybody who's going into this going, I'm unsure. I mean, Harrison Ford's getting up there in years. Does he still have it in him? Yes, he does. That man is a treasure and will remain a treasure for as many years as we have him. He does have it in him. Obviously, we're not getting another Indiana Jones movie after this, or at least not one where Indy is Harrison Ford and we're following it. I just can't see that franchise honestly going anywhere other than Harrison Ford. So
yeah,
let this be it.
But I have a feeling this is going to go the way of like all those, like the pitch meeting, where the whole idea of the pitch meeting is like, oh, we can make money? Cool, let's do that. Yeah. I have a feeling that something Indiana Jones related is going to come up. There's already been talks of potentially doing another movie, or maybe doing like a prequel show on Disney Plus, kind of like the young Indiana Jones Chronicles back in the 90s and stuff.
Listen,
like I don't know if I don't necessarily want those, but again, I'm not a huge Indiana Jones fan to begin with.
I'm gonna make myself famous on this channel for saying this. Hollywood. Well, I love this. This was a good movie. I actually really enjoyed this Indiana Jones movie. But Hollywood, let franchises die.
Yeah,
let things end. Things can end. It is okay.
No more Indiana Jones. No more Jurassic Park.
Perfectly okay.
Anything else that Steven Spielberg that cranked out a long time ago that y'all have been making sequels to, stop.
It's okay.
Give us another Ready Player One though. That would be a good Steven Spielberg sequel.
Ultimately. Yeah, I think all the action in this movie holds up with the rest of the Indiana Jones franchise. It feels like an Indiana Jones movie. The globe-trotting adventure of it all. It's Harrison Ford stepping back into the iconic hat and whip. I mean, it feels like an Indiana Jones film all the way around. It's got everything going for it in that regard. You've got returning players like Jonathan Rhys Davies.
Yep. So you got Sala back.
As Sala. Mm-hmm. Wonderful to see. He's an absolute joy. But then you got new folks like Phoebe Waller-Bridge jumping in here and making a statement in the movie. And I think her character was actually very well done. I mean, she was a lot of fun. A lot of a nice little foil in some parts, but nice compatriot in others.
Yeah, she had like such a well-rounded character that was kind of hard to follow or tell exactly what she's doing. There was like a lot of mystery to her, and I loved.
Yeah,
and she did a phenomenal job with that. I do like, there are, for those wondering, there are going to be some ties. There's like some throwaway lines, basically, like kind of talking about what's happened between the movies, or stuff that you may be wondering from the past. How does this play into this movie?
Characters that we've known.
Yeah,
what's going on with
stuff
them.
like that is brought up. Some of those, the way that they did those, I thought were done pretty well. Some of them were it's a little weird, but okay,
That's
I guess.
A choice, yeah.
And then in general, overall with the story, there is a couple of things that is a little weird. There's one thing pertaining to the big climax of this movie. There was something in there that both of us, like after watching the movie, were like, well, they just kind of yada-yada'd their way out of that one, didn't they? And
yeah,
it makes sense why they yada-yada'd it. But at the same time, yeah, it's acceptable, but at the same time, it's still like glaringly obvious. Wow.
It's acceptable, but it's noticeable.
Yeah, and it's just really weird. I mean, after you think about it, you're like, okay, I guess that makes sense why they did that, but it's strange.
Overall, I think another big question too is because we know that Steven Spielberg didn't direct this one. The reins were passed over to James Mangold. Does James Mangold do a good job taking the reins of Indiana Jones? And I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think we had a lot of faith in him going into this movie because he's done such great films like Logan and Ford v Ferrari. I mean,
I said just based off of Logan. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of Logan, but I thought the movie was made very well. I think James Mangold did a very good job with Logan.
He
and I
knows-
can see his touch from what he did on Logan in this as well.
he knows how to handle the legacy of a well-loved character. essentially.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that is something that a lot of us out here kind of picked up on from the beginning. When I feel like he's going to be the right guy for this role, and there's other like mixed reviews, especially coming out of cons. There was a whole uproar over mixed reviews over this film. Was it good? Was it bad? I don't really buy into all of that. I think ultimately, it should be noted that James Mangold was the right guy for the job. Came in and did a nice solid indie movie, Indiana Jones, and really kind of brought it home. I think by the end.
Yeah. I do remember like seeing a lot of those reports and those reviews where people are like, it's an Indiana Jones movie. And that's why I was like, at some point, like, that's what I'm looking for because that's the name of the movie. So that's what my expectations are.
Sounds like they nailed it.
Yeah. But I did see something where someone was like, if you're not an Indiana Jones fan, and as soon as I hear those words, of course, that's where I'm like, oh, okay, let me get your opinion. They're like, you're gonna think it's an okay movie. It is an Indiana Jones movie. It's what you expect, and it's just an okay. And I'm like, that's actually my thoughts, feelings, and opinions about this. It was enjoyable. It's one of the first ones that if I'm ever like curious about something, me and my ADHD, if I'm curious about what's going on in a movie, I don't feel like I'm keeping track. I can always like go look it up on Wikipedia and like check to make sure that I'm still following the movie. Yeah. You can't do that in a movie theater, and you definitely can't do that with a movie that's just now in the movie theater. Yeah. No one's written that Wikipedia article. So that being said, I feel like I followed it pretty well.
Yeah, the movie's pretty easy to follow what's going on. It's very straightforward.
The movie overall looks good. The acting is good. I don't think like any flaws in this movie. I think are really just maybe like some of the story beats, I would say, for me.
Yeah, I mean, in places. I mean, the other real quick, the other actor to note, Mads Mikkelsen, did a very good job. I mean, he's classic. He is a go-to if you want a villain archetype. He knows what he's doing. He's in there, and he did it well. But yeah, as far as everything else, there are moments where it's like maybe it kind of takes its time in places where it doesn't maybe necessarily need to take its time. I think that isn't necessarily a flaw, really, but more of just a kind of a staple with the Indiana Jones franchise. It does the same kind of thing in this movie as Indiana Jones movies have done prior.
Yeah. That being said, like I said in the reaction, I do kind of rank this higher than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think my number one issue with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, as silly as the storyline is most of it just looks like it's filmed on a soundstage. Mm-hmm. For a movie that takes place in the adventures, globetrotting, and stuff like that, we really don't really see that kind of cinematography. Everything is set on sound stages. Each scene is obviously a soundstage.
This movie did not.
This movie actually went places. Like, physically, they went to places. Not story-wise, but they did that too. But it was nice to see that full cinematography, like not seeing props or walls that could be obviously styrofoam on a soundstage. It's nice seeing all of this, and I really think that helps with my connection to this movie.
Yeah, and I think that as an example is something that is a one man's trash is another man's treasure, because for me, I personally found that charming about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I think it harkens back to a lot of charming elements of the original trilogy, like the final act of Raiders of the Lost Ark definitely does not feel like it's on location somewhere.
No.
And that's something I actually really enjoy about the Indiana Jones movies. So that being said, I enjoy also when they actually feel like they are filming on location in different places where it doesn't feel like a set. So there's magic either way, and I think whatever you prefer, you will enjoy it in this movie as well. Overall, I would say that, I think I'm in the same place where I definitely would not put it over the original trilogy, but also we've just had so much more time with the original trilogy. They are so beloved that I think it's very hard to come out with a movie Yeah, it's hard to come out with a movie nowadays where you're immediately going, yep, that's better than these three iconic films. It's very hard to do that, and I don't know that many people have.
Especially if you're the type of person that you did grow up watching the original 3 movies, much like I did, like say with Star Wars, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
If they were to go back and do another Back to the Future,
It wouldn't fare as well.
Well, first of all, don't do that. That's the one trilogy you don't effing touch.
We'll see.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, like I feel like if you were to make another movie, I feel like that would kind of hurt my nostalgia of the original movies, and I feel like that might be something with these movies, with the Indiana Jones movies, that some people may have a connection to, is doing another one in 2008, or now this new one in 2023, maybe kind of messing with your nostalgia brain a bit for how much you very much love the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something. So it's kind of a recency biased form, just kind of opposite in the way of how people typically refer to recency bias.
There is that aspect too, where it's very hard to come out of the new movie and go, you know what, that absolutely was better than the original trilogy. I just feel like feels like there's something wrong to say about that. That's not to say this movie's bad. It is good. I very much enjoyed it. But if you're looking for something that's going to surpass the original trilogy, no. Yeah. And I think that's fair. I think that's fine. I think that's acceptable. I think everybody who made this movie would be okay with anyone saying that about this film. At the end of the day, it's a good movie. It's a good time, and I think you definitely, if you enjoy the Indiana Jones franchise, I think it's worth it for you to go check it out. There
is one more thing I just remembered I did want to talk about. The de-aging effects.
Oh yeah.
There is a lot of this movie, at least the first half of the movie, does deal with a lot of flashbacks, and I think the de-aging effects that they did on Harrison Ford was amazing.
There's one scene where he's in some water where I feel like it looked a little wonky because they had to do like water effects on top of the de-aging effects, and it's just kind of hard to pull that off. But the visual side of it looked great. Now, the problem here is that we have a younger looking Harrison Ford sounding kind of like an older Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Get off my lawn.
There is that aspect. His voice was a lot more gravelly than we are used to it. And I just recently rewatched all the Indiana Jones movies going into this. So I know it's fresh in my mind. What does younger Harrison Ford sound like? And he didn't sound like that. So there is that aspect too. They've got the visual down. They don't quite have the audio down yet of how to de-age someone's voice, which is a whole nother discussion that I don't know if anyone's really wanting to have necessarily. But yeah, like I said, overall, I think it's a good movie. If you like Indiana Jones, I think you're going to enjoy this one a lot. If you don't like Indiana Jones, it's an Indiana Jones movie. So there you go. Take that how you will.
It does say Indiana Jones on the screen. I love the fact they keep using the same font for like the opening titles
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
What are we rating it?
Overall, yeah, again, not a huge Indiana Jones fan, but I mean, I can't remember what I rated the other movies in this. I would call this one I would say was like, I guess like a 6.5 out of 10 for me. And again, the only reason it's down is just because this really isn't my cup of tea for my kind of movie. But for watching the Indiana Jones movies, it was enjoyable.
Knowing that the others rate higher, I would give this one a 7 out of 10. Again, I think it's a very fair score where it's a very enjoyable movie, but just know that it's not the best in the series by far, but it is still a very enjoyable Indiana Jones movie, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to be our review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What's yours? Let us know down below in the comments. While you are down there, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. You can follow us at The Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and YouTube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as Twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this review.
Real quick. You guys need to come check us out. We're doing a live show this Friday, which I think at this point,
by the time you're watching this, it's like tonight.
A little bit later tonight. We are going to be ranking some Indiana Jones movies, as well as a lot of other science fiction and action Harrison Ford movies, tier ranking them. You're going to want to be there live in the chat giving us your opinions, so come hang out.
See, that's why it's good to have two people hosting a YouTube channel show so the other person can remember to plug things that you're forgetting.
I think it's 7:30 Pacific.
7:30 Pacific. Yeah, 7:30 Pacific,
Eastern.
10:30 Eastern. So yeah, make sure y'all come back for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Anyways, that is gonna do it for this video. Finally, are we done?
Yep.
Anything else?
Go
Cool.
for it.
Thank you for watching. We will see y'all later. Have a great evening. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
I wanted to do some kind of snakes reference, but
We don't have any snakes.
we don't have any snakes. So
This is an Indiana Jones welcome household. He can come here anytime he wants.
there
There's
are
no
no
snakes.
snakes.